Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Coming up in this episode, we've got reaction from Monday's Row Motor All Premiership clashes as the Leicester Lions defeat the Sheffield Tigers again.
Don't think it's anything against them. I think we just rode really well tonight. We rode the track well and everyone was feeling good. So, I think all in all, I think it was just a great performance by us.
Reaction too from the Adrian Flux Arena after the Kings Lynn Stars defeated the Birmingham Brummies to move further up the Row Motor All Premiership table.
Yeah, we take one match as it comes. We've got a few, as you say, coming up. Big one next Monday against Ipswich again. But, I'm happy with the win.
And the eyes of the Speedway world are on Great Britain ahead of this weekend for the Speedway Grand Prix Series. 2 rounds at the National Speedway Stadium. And later on, we're joined by FIM race director Phil Morris, who's also the Premiership CEO too, to look forward to the event.
At Cardiff, you had this fantastic town next to it, but maybe you never had the best racing. Where Manchester, if not the best, one of the best tracks in the world. So, to go there and see the top guys in the world, the Grand Prix riders racing around there, I'm hoping will give a fantastic spectacle. I'm pleased to see that tickets are pretty much sold out. That's good. We've got a 2-day event and I'm very much looking forward to it.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome to another episode of No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast, as we kick off a big week in British Speedway with the world's eyes looking towards the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester this weekend. And to get us in the mood for that, we'll speak to Phil Morris a little later on. First of all, though, let's start by looking back on what's been going on in the Row Motor All Premiership. A couple of fixtures on Monday, of course, and Leicester slammed Sheffield 56-34 to consolidate their position in the Row Motor All Premiership playoff places and knocked the Tigers off top spot in the process as well. Skipper Max Frick scored a 6-ride 18-point maximum for the Lions, who overcame the loss of Luke Becker with serious back injuries after a crash in Poland on Sunday to run up a big home victory. They'd beaten the Tigers by 18 points in the Knockout Cup last week, but went even better this time, with the margin seeing the visitors drop to second in the table behind Ipswich on points difference as a result. Sam Masters with 12 plus 3, Ryan Douglas on 11 and Kyle Howarth 9 plus 3 all took extra rides in Becker's absence to back up the imperious Max Frick, while Sheffield were limited to just 4 race wins through the meeting. 2 from the guest Tom Brennan and 2 from reserve from Justin Sedgman. Josh Pickering top scored for the Tigers with 8 plus 1. Some reaction now, starting off with the captain of the Sheffield Tigers. Let's hear from Josh Pickering talking to Ryan Guest.
Yeah, I was just saying to Scotty, it's hard to say exactly where it went wrong for us tonight. We probably all showed a little bit of glimpses of hope, but then it just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough heat advantages when there was riders doing the right thing. It's just everyone has a bad day sometimes, and obviously, yes, we were here last week where they give us a bit of a beating, and they've done bigger tonight, but they've still got to have to come and visit Allerton twice. So we all know how good we are around there, and first loss of the league for the year, I think. So no panic stations.
No panic stations, and particularly when you've got such a quick run of fixtures coming, another one Thursday, another one away next Monday. Just how important is it that the boys don't dwell on this too much?
Oh, to me, honestly, I've forgotten about it in a way already. You've got to. When you have a good night, even though your attitude and everything's good, you're already focusing on the next one. So that's one thing good about Speedway, is that we don't have too many days to sit around and ponder on things and worry and stress, because we've got to already be focusing about our next meeting, and that's at Ipswich on Thursday. So we're all looking forward to it. We're geared up for it. Obviously, we always thank the travelling supporters. We know they're going to be at Ipswich as well. So we're just going to have to keep things cruising along.
Yep, certainly so. And like you say, regardless of where the boys have finished tonight and how it is, when you look at the bigger picture overall, it has been a really positive start to the season when you consider everything.
Yeah, well, I still believe we will be top of the league. So we are top of the league for a reason. Maybe Leicester, like even last year, Leicester was a track that, as a collective 1 to 7, I feel we did struggle at. But yeah, it's just how it is in Speedway sometimes. I finished on a bit better note, but I'm still not happy with my first couple of races, and I can always do better, and we're always working hard, and we've always got the support of Steady, which is, he's unmatchable. So yeah, again, thanks everyone for turning up and showing up, but I hope we can do more on Thursday.
So the Tigers unstuck by the Lions twice in a week, pretty much, I think you'd say. Let's hear from the victorious team captain of the Leicester Lions, Max Frick, of course, kicking off what's going to be a big week for him with a Grand Prix on his former home track at Bellevue coming up this weekend, and started the week the right way with an 18-point maximum. He's been chatting to Ryan as well.
Yeah, a really great night for the whole team. So, we're spewing, we're missing Luke tonight, but, I think this was a good display to kind of do it for him, and hopefully we can carry this form on throughout the season. Yeah,
it certainly was. Obviously, Sheffield were here 7 nights ago as well. You were expecting a much different and much tougher task tonight, weren't you? But it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, I was a little bit, but I don't think it's anything against them. I think we just rode really well tonight. We rode the track well, and everyone was feeling good. So, I think all in all, I think it was just a great performance by us.
And like you say, when you consider obviously everything that's gone on in the last 24 hours with Luke, and the way the boys have responded overall to that home defeat against Birmingham, it really has been impressive stuff from the boys all round.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, all the boys here are working hard, as well as everyone behind the scenes in the club and on the track. And there's a few things that have kind of changed since then. And I think it's kind of working in our favour, and we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, like I say, for yourself, it was that 18-point full maximum as well. Came under some bit of pressure in Heat 15 as well. But like you say, overall, it's just been a brilliant night.
Yeah, exactly. I think overall it was just, a good night. This is how we want things to work each week, but it doesn't always work like that. So it's nice that today everything went smoothly, and we're able to kind of move on to the next one.
Max, brilliant stuff from yourself and the boys. Well done to you and the Lions.
Thank you.
So the Leicester Lions march on in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership. Meanwhile, we had a clash down the bottom end of the table as well, with the Kings Lynn Stars collecting a 49-40 win over Birmingham to move up to 5th in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership table. The Stars were never able to relax against the Brummie side, inspired by former Lynn racer Tobias Mujolak, who came back looking to prove a point, but better all-round strength secured the home win in the end. Chris Harris top scored for the hosts, 11+1 for Bomber, and completed the meeting with a memorable pass on Mujolak on the last bend of Heat 15 in true Bomber style. Whilst skipper Nikolai Clint picked up 10+1, Mujolak racked up 17 from 7 rides for the Brummies. Matty Zagar added 11, but the visitors lost rising star reserve Jason Edwards, who looks like he's got a broken shoulder blade, we believe, in the early investigations of that. So he's going to be on the sidelines for some time for both the Brummies and, of course, the Red Car Bears in the Cab Direct Championship. That was a clash with Jan Kvek in Heat 2 down the back straight. Some reaction now. Let's hear from the boss, Rob Lyon of the Kings Lynn Stars, with Andy Abbott.
Reasonably solid performance all the way through, which is what this team's built on. But we sort of made hard work of it. Birmingham, to their credit, took the meeting to us and rode really well and did some damage. Without Jepsen Jensen, they got 4 points for rider replacement. With him in the team, we'd have been under the cosh a little bit. But, we've had our problems this year, obviously, as everybody knows, and I'm quite happy to take that win. It's another one on the board, and move on to Thursday.
It's going to be difficult tonight because Birmingham have improved. They had that win at Leicester, and with Jepsen Jensen leaving him in the lurch a little bit, a wounded animal is always going to fight back, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And, like I say, Mujolak and Zagar did the majority of the damage tonight for them, but their quality riders have been around a long time. And, we all know that, riders seem to come back here and haunt us at times, and Toby certainly did that tonight. But luckily we had enough in the tank to get us over the line. And, Bomber did Bomber things in Heat 14 and Heat 15 and did the damage, won the match for us.
But it must be pleasing with the likes of the skipper, Nikolai Clint, really hit some reasonable form tonight, especially with the busy period coming up at Oxford on Thursday and Ipswich back here again next Monday.
Yeah, like I say, Oxford Thursday's an important one for us. We rode well there in the Knockout Cup and won comfortably, so another result like that would be great. But a win is fine because I think we beat them here convincingly in the first leg. So we take one match as it comes. We've got a few, as you say, coming up. Big one next Monday against Ipswich again. But I'm happy with the win.
You've got a few issues to sort out with the Rising Star berth. Luke Harrison tonight, first time here, first time in the Premiership, and acquitted himself was very, very well. He was tidy, but probably just down a bit on power when he came up against the top boys.
Yeah, like I said, it's all a learning curve for these young lads, and it's great experience for them. I thought he acquitted himself pretty well, to be honest. It was just really off the starts. He was on pace, and you can't ask any more than that. And he'll be better for it next time round.
Is he going to Oxford on Thursday, or is he got somebody else going to come in?
No, it's Jody Scott on Thursday at Oxford.
And back here next Monday?
Yeah, it'll be Jody Scott again next Monday.
So it's a time for these youngsters to really capitalise and put the name in the frame for you to make a tough decision going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we've got a National League team. It's nice to use these boys to give them that experience, really. So we felt it was the right thing to do.
So it was never an easy task for the Birmingham Brummies. Already running rider replacement, found themselves losing another rider in the form of Jason Edwards, who had to withdraw after his first ride. We can hear now from the boss of the Birmingham Brummies, Chris Adams, with Nathan Bunting.
Chris, tough night at the office, unfortunately, a 9-point defeat here at Kings Lynn, with the loss of Jason Edwards as well, but a battling performance all the same.
Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate in that heat too, and sort of knocked the wind out of us straight away. But we battled on. We pretty much had a three-man team. Keenan struggling with bike issues all night. I think considering all the circumstances that we had to face tonight, we did pretty well.
It must be pleasing with the form of Matty Zagar and Tobias Musilak, particularly tonight, that they've carried you through this meeting as best they can. And to go back to Birmingham with only a 9-point deficit, you must be encouraged and thinking about picking up that bonus point.
Yeah, we're very encouraged, and 9 points is, they can soon pull that back. I mean, make no mistake about that. But we'll have to keep our wits about us because there's no easy matches. But yeah, Matt and Toby did fantastic tonight, and that's the reason why the gap wasn't so big.
And any early news to report on Jason Edwards? What type of injury he's got?
He looked like he dislocated his shoulder. So he's gone off to hospital, and hopefully to have that pop back in. I have tried ringing him, but he hasn't answered us yet. So, but yeah, that's all we know for now.
Yeah, well, the update on that is from Jason Edwards' own social media is that he looks like he's got a fractured left scapula. Before you go Googling, that's basically your left shoulder blade, and he's going to know more in the coming weeks. So still early days yet, but certainly that seems to be the early diagnosis, is a fractured left scapula, and he passes his thanks on to everybody at the track who helped him, and also those at the hospital in Kings Lynn as well. Best wishes to Jason Edwards. Hope to see him back on the bike very soon. Let's hear now from Niels Christian Iversen of the Kings Lynn Stars. Has also been speaking to Andy Abbott.
They don't have a bad team, Birmingham, to be honest. They just been struggling a bit with lack of riders, but yeah, they have some good riders in the team, and today when the riders are firing, then they take extra rides too. So it didn't make it easy for us, but no, we did what we had to do, and we just proved to be a bit stronger towards the whole meeting.
And this Kings Lynn track, it's always a pretty fair track, and people come here and know they can race. And how much more difficult does that make it for the home side?
Oh, not really. It's the same everywhere you go. Gaining's important, and it's no different here. So I think that the track is good. The track's been consistent and produce some decent racing. So now I think we should be happy about how the track conditions is. It's the same for everyone, and yeah, we just need to get on with it.
And for you, in your testimonial year, and it's been a pretty solid season all round, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I still feel like I have plenty more to do, really. It's like it never really clicks for the whole meeting for me. Today I changed bike again and had 2 not so good riders in the beginning, and changed bike, and everything was sort of really good again, and sort of back to how I feel it should be. And it's nice when you feel a difference and you can put your finger on what you need to change. But I think it's been a little bit for me the whole season when it doesn't seem to click for a full meeting. I had some good rides and some poor rides, and yeah, it would be nice just to have some meetings now when everything just works properly, and I can just have a really good meeting.
We're in Oxford on Thursday. Been there once before this year. Can it click at Oxford on Thursday?
Yeah, it could. Hopefully it will. So no, I had a good meeting there in the beginning of the season. Scored 14 points. It's my best meeting so far this season in England. So no, I know what went well for me there the first time we were there. So we'll see if we have similar conditions, and we can use the first meeting for anything. But again, yeah, it was good in the first meeting of the year, and we went there and we won the meeting. So. Hopefully we can do the same again.
And back here against Ipswich on next Monday. Always a tough side to beat.
Yeah, Ipswich is a good side. They have a few problems with injuries at the moment, but maybe Doyle will be back the next Monday. We will see. That will definitely make them stronger again. And yeah, they have I think, in my opinion, they have a quality team all the way through. And it's one of these meetings where everybody has to really work hard and do their best to be able to win.
I know if Jason Doyle is back, that'll really inspire you, because you come up against these riders and you want to beat them, don't you?
Yeah, of course I want to beat all of them, but it will improve their team because he is the top rider, and yeah, we will have to see when we get here. It's a new meeting, it's the first day, and just need to be reviewed.
Well, see your vans on this way off tonight, so I'll let you go. Cheers, Neil.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
We don't want to be in a situation where Niels Christian Eversen's left in the car park following that interview. He did get in his van and headed off after, I'm sure. So the week ahead then in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership. It is a big week in British Speedway, as we will come to with the Grand Prix happening. But Ipswich have reclaimed top spot in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership after Sheffield's defeat at Leicester. And the top 2 meet at Vauxhall on Thursday. It's the big one. Ipswich versus Sheffield. What a way to kick off a big weekend of Speedway. Meanwhile, Oxford and Kings Lynn both look to make ground on the playoff places. They clash at Cowley on Thursday night. Looking at Monday night's action sees Sheffield head to Birmingham for the first time this season, whilst league points are on offer in the latest local derby clash between Kings Lynn and Ipswich. And looking at the matches you can see on the TV, couple actually of those will be on BSN on Thursday, the clash between Oxford and Kings Lynn, and on Monday, BSN at Perry Bar for the Brummies versus the Sheffield Tigers. We also have some fixture changes to bring you as well. We had 3 postponements. Thursday, June the 5th, the whole programme fell by the wayside with rain. So all clubs in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership have agreed to a number of fixture changes to help catch things up. The second legs of both KO Cup semi-finals at Ipswich and Sheffield both fell victim to the weather, as well as the league clash between Bellevue and Birmingham. New dates have now been confirmed for all 3 fixtures. It also keeps the KO Cup on schedule for completion in the final week of July. The second leg of the Sheffield-Leicester semi-final is now taking place Thursday, June 26th, which was previously a date for a league fixture between the sides at Oleton. And Leicester's remaining league visit to Sheffield will now move to Thursday, August the 21st. The second leg of the Ipswich-Kings Lynn semi-final now takes place on Thursday, July 17th, a date of which the Witches were originally scheduled to travel to Oxford. So a few other things have had to move around anyway, so I'll run through the changes and the affected fixtures. So Sheffield versus Leicester becomes the KO Cup semi instead. That's on Thursday, June the 26th. Thursday, June 3rd, Sheffield versus Birmingham goes into the programme. Monday, July 7th, Bellevue versus Birmingham in the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership. And then we've got a change at Oxford on the July the 7th. Oxford were due to race Bellevue. They now race Ipswich. Obviously, Bellevue already in action on that date. Monday, July 14th, Sheffield will take on Oxford in the Road Motor Oil Premiership instead of taking on Birmingham. And then Thursday, July 17th, Oxford versus Bellevue and Ipswich versus Kings Lynn, which is the KO Cup semi-final, are the changes. Oxford versus Ipswich comes out of the programme. Thursday, July 24th, Sheffield versus Leicester now becomes a Premiership Round 1 fixture. Originally it was the Round 2 meeting. And then Thursday, August 21st, Sheffield versus Leicester in Premiership Round 2 goes in place of what was Sheffield versus Oxford. There you go. That's all the changes. You can read about them at your leisure online at britishspeedway.co.uk. But next, we will turn our attention to the Grand Prix. Speedway Grand Prix comes to Britain, of course. We're not at Cardiff this year. 2 fixtures at Manchester's National Speedway Stadium. We've got 2 rounds, Friday night and Saturday. You maybe have some questions. Hopefully we'll answer them from a man who knows more than most about the Speedway Grand Prix series. Phil Morris, not only is he the CEO of British Speedway, but the race director of the Speedway Grand Prix series as well. And we'll chat about both British Speedway and the Speedway Grand Prix that are coming up in Manchester with Phil in the next part of No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
All eyes on British Speedway later this week, with 2 Grand Prix taking place back-to-back at the National Speedway Stadium in Manchester on Friday and Saturday. I'm pleased to say that Phil Morris joins us, who not only, of course, is the CEO of the Road Motor Oil Premiership, but is the race director for the FIM Speedway Grand Prix Series as well. So we'll come to the Grand Prix shortly. But first of all, Phil, just to talk about a story this week where we've had a bit of a change round in some fixtures. The weather, of course, moving in, and it's set us back in a couple of competitions. We've got the Knockout Cup, of course, was set back last week. We've got some outstanding fixtures in the league, and you've done a bit of rejigging to fit everything in with the TV as well.
Yeah, we are. Thank you, Ian, firstly, for having me on. It's always a pleasure to come on and speak with you. But yeah, we've had quite a bit of to get the Knockout Cup matches in, to keep the final towards in July, so we could keep honouring the final. We've left a week free for that. We've had to work quite hard to move some fixtures around, and I'm very pleased to say we had a 10-15 minute Zoom with all the teams, and everyone understood my sort of, I was sat up after the 3 meetings were cancelled, probably at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to move things around like a jigsaw. And yeah, we managed to get there. It has meant a little bit of movement, but nothing for the next month. So I think everyone can adjust their schedules. We do, obviously, we understand fans sometimes will book a day off work to maybe go to Oxford or Sheffield or Ipswich. So we've tried to move it down the line a bit. But yeah, we should get, hopefully, the 2 semi-finals of the Knockout Cup in way before the final week. And also then we can fit in the other, it was Bellevue v Birmingham, which was another tough ask because they both race on Monday, and it wasn't really a Monday that one of them weren't racing. So we engineered it a little bit that they would be. So yeah, hopefully the fans understand, and I'm very happy that the Premiership teams all got on board with it and made the few changes we had to.
And these are hard things to plan for as well, because you can't predict the weather. I think actually we've done pretty well with the weather so far. We've had very few rain-offs. They've come sort of quite close together in recent weeks, I suppose. But up until that point, the league in general has been running pretty well across all the leagues, in fact.
Yeah, we've had a good run with weather, but obviously when you have 3 meetings in one day go out and 2 of them Knockout Cup matches, that doesn't help anybody. But I don't think this is just a Speedway thing. You know, if anybody's a Premiership football fan, you get sort of 4, 5, 6 weeks notice, and your team, they're not playing on a Saturday, they're playing on a Sunday or a Monday, you know, or different times. So I don't think it's something new in sport. You know, you have to adjust things. We're not adjusting it for TV, we're adjusting it for the weather. If meetings didn't get rained off, we wouldn't have to. But yeah, it has made a small change to 2 of the TV matches. Oxford were against Bellevue. They'll now be against Ipswich. There's a change there. And then a week later, I think it was Sheffield Birmingham, which will now be Sheffield Oxford. That was part of the movement, but obviously our TNT fixtures. It didn't affect, luckily, BSN, which is good. None of the things that moved affected BSN, and we'll still be able to cover the Sheffield via Leicester semi-final, the Knockout Cup as well. So yeah, all good for BSN, for TNT. Hopefully the fans understand why we've done it.
Okay, so look out for those fixtures, and you can get all the info on that on the British Speedway website, of course, for all the official details there. Just to clear off the other elephant in the room that people will be talking about, of course, the sad news about Birmingham. I guess it's been something that was on the cards at some point or another. We knew that the stadium lease was, up for question, I guess, either now or in future years. It is a blow, of course, to lose a club. But your reaction to that news?
Yeah, it's a massive blow again. It's another one that development of land, which is not helping us as a sport. Yeah, and even Dan Bewley, he was saying, he's not really done much of that track, but he thought it's a cool little track and was praising it up. So it's a shame that we're losing another track. Never good, that's not. But on the other hand, we're still fighting hard with Peterborough, Rye House, Coventry, Lakeside, all these ones. We're really, doing our best to keep them or bring them back if possible. So there is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And obviously with the Birmingham situation, we will start talking about, obviously next year, what things we do, start planning in advance fairly soon.
Yeah, and that is the question, isn't it? There's been a lot of discussion in the Speedway Star about it and elsewhere, of course, that with the number of teams, particularly in the Row Motor Oil Premiership dropping to 6, obviously people start talking about one big league. But it's not very easy to cover that off, is it, when you've got to take into account the other European leagues that riders are firmly involved in as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussions to go on and lots of... Obviously, the ideal situation is to keep the Premier League, keep the Championship. That's what the goal is. And I don't see anything that we're not going to try and do that at the moment. But yeah, there is a lot of chats to go on, a lot of talks, a lot of discussions, why, what, where and how. But, I'm sure we'll have a plan A, B, C and D. Hopefully plan A will be the one we stick with, which is the one will be the most that works for everyone. But we also understand that, we've got to do what's right for the sport as well in this country. And if we can get more clubs back, that solves it. So that's got to be goal number one, to try and encourage clubs back. Someone like Coventry, if we can get this compulsory purchase order through, that then becomes the stadium use then for Speedway and stock cars, that'll be fantastic. So there's a lot of work going on, and hopefully they'll start showing some fruit soon.
We had Jeff Davis on this podcast a number of weeks ago, and obviously he's involved in that. And he was obviously at that point encouraging people to write to the council and offer their support. But he seemed to be fairly positive that in the long run that could be maybe the leading example of a track that we could see back. And you've been involved in that case as well, which prevented the development ultimately too. So with Matt Ford coming out as being involved, that surely things seem to be heading in the a positive direction, certainly in that case.
Yeah, I think the Coventry case helped, set the precedent where I feel that the council saw what was happening. And it's very simple to break down, If anybody listening to this podcast owns a piece of land that's worth 2 million, when you have planning development allowed on it, it's worth 20 million. Of course, if you have no interest in sport or anything, if you're purely looking after your own business and your family, you're going to want the 20 million. That's fairly obvious. But we've got to try and stop that, because there's a sporting element to it. And I think the Oxford was a great start, what's happened there. Coventry followed that up, and if we can do that with other ones, and I never want to say too much, but there is, a track that's gone, some positive things happening that's not going to be public, that could be good for everyone. So, I won't say who, what, why, but there are lots of things going on in the background, and I'm actively trying to help, all these clubs that are defunct and not have been lost or looking to come back, to help them.
Looking at British Speedway overall, I think people lose sight perhaps of our position now and what other people are saying in other countries. I know that there's a lot of interest from Poland, probably more so than ever in recent years, maybe. Same for fans maybe in Denmark too. I know you're tuning in to watch the coverage. The coverage has sort of expanded now, being on the TNT platform, for example. And, there does seem to be a greater interest and from the riders' point of view as well, we've seen a greater interest of international riders now wanting to come over here to, further their development in Speedway too, and what it brings, which has sort of been building over the last few years.
Yeah, hopefully, I was only talking to Marek Cieslak, who was the Polish team manager for a very long time, and he actually said to me that, he likes watching British Speedway now more than Denmark and Sweden. He feels it's jumped above them. So it's nice for someone like that to say that. Obviously, we've still got a lot of work to do. If it looks good a bit better on TV for them, they'll stream in for them to see, which is good. They've got Discovery Plus or Max in these countries that they can see the product we have. So it's nice to see other countries watching and paying interest. Obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of British fans that do the same and watch maybe Sweden, Denmark, and especially Poland. It's the world leaders, Poland, and we're not hiding ourselves to that fact. We want to be where they are. That's the goal. We need to get on their coattails and look at what they're doing. I've always said that, and I've got a good relationship with the extra league bosses, and we try and work together to come up with compromises that doesn't hurt us too much. We understand they're the big brother, the very big brother. They pay the riders a lot of money. And yeah, we're quite a way behind in that sense, but we are trying to close the gap and make ourselves more professional. And then that then in turn brings maybe a few riders back. And if we can keep doing that, bringing some of the big names back, that's good. But also it needs to balance the books as well. We still need crowds to be coming to pay him for that. I know when Chris Louis sort of probably gambled a little bit with Emil Seifedinov and Jason Doyle as his top two, I know that worked for him. And like the crowd he had for Kings Lynn at home the other week was very, very good. And I know he was happy with that. And, sometimes the gamble pay off, sometimes it doesn't. I know Birmingham, for example, tried to sign a real strong team, didn't quite work for them, even though they've won 2 meetings back to back now. So there's no magic wand to it. But yeah, if we can get a few more riders, there's always a few. There's only been 2 this week I would class as world-class riders have contacted me from different countries. So I pass that on to the teams and say, hey, there's a rider that's interested to come over. So yeah, it's down to the teams then. But also, it's not just, if they come in and want crazy money, I'm sure the teams will say, we can't afford you. So it's a little bit two-way job. But yeah, hopefully the product's getting a little bit better towards the viewing of other countries, which is good.
And even as recently as, last week, we saw Zach Cook making his debut for Wrocław in Poland. But the track there was at Czestochowa. The track was pretty tricky. It was a wet track. It was pretty lumpy. And the Polish commentators were actually sort of joking that the British-based riders are going to enjoy it here. And that's exactly what happened. Zach Cook made his debut, got a 5-1 with Artem Laguta in his first ever ride in Extraliga. Dan Bewley was in the meeting, and of course he's reveling in that. And so for these riders, they see tracks like this that are tricky. It's raining, it's a bit heavy, and they're seeing these riders that are racing over here actually having no problems with that, whereas the boys that are used to a slick track are maybe just labouring it a little bit. And so there is an example of the benefits of riding some of the conditions here, perhaps.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Polish tracks are a lot harder and a lot slicker. That's how most of them are. So when it does rain, it obviously gives a different dimension. And I think I saw one of Dan Bewley's interview actually the day after, because he raced in Poland, the rest of the world. And he actually, the words he said, I quite liked it. That's the difference, where riders that have got UK sort of skills, where the tracks are more demanding, they're more technical, and they're more thinking rather than more just about horsepower and holding the bike flat out. So yeah, that proves that I think the British-based riders or riders that's raced in Britain, they're probably a lot better on tracks in Poland that are a bit more not conform like normal and they're a bit different. So yeah, that does help. And Zach Cook, out of respect to him, Ben Cook, they signed him last year and he was flying. And I think they needed some riders at Wrocław, signed Zach Cook. And I think, he got like paid 7 or 8 or 9 or something.
8, I think, yeah.
So yeah, he's proved himself that, and it's good for Poland to understand that we've got riders here that's not even on their radar that could do jobs as well. So that's good for us as well.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the world's stars are heading here in abundance this week, because we've got not one but 2 Speedway Grand Prix taking place in Manchester. First of all, to address the situation, Cardiff, of course, was originally on the calendar, and Manchester was sort of a second Grand Prix. We've still got 2 Grand Prix. It's obviously not what we were hoping it was going to be. Losing Cardiff, obviously, a big blow to British Speedway, but a big blow to the Grand Prix series as a whole, I think, as well, because it was kind of a focal event, and it's a shame to lose it off the calendar. Obviously, as a proud Welshman yourself, you'll feel that probably more personally. First rider to ride there as well, but obviously we can't avoid the fact that Cardiff's not here anymore, and but we have still got the 2 Grand Prix. But just a word about that situation, because of course we can't hide from the loss of Cardiff, but that is a big blow, I think, to the series as a whole.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm as devastated as the next person. It's my home sort of Grand Prix in my backyard. It was honour to work there, as well as I'm very honoured to be in my job as a race director of the Speedway Grand Prix. But to do it in Cardiff was even more special for me, and to see it gone, it is a big hit. It's the only time my family come to a Grand Prix. They don't travel with me anywhere else. My children come to that. So we've lost that little bit of not that I saw them during the event, but they got to experience what I did. And my wife, who's passed away, she used to come to that as well. So there's a little bit of family history there as well, that they would come and support me in that one. So yeah, it's a big heart tug for me. But again, it's a business decision made by Warner Brothers Discovery Sports, and they've got to balance the books and make sure everything works for them as well. So they've made their decision. Obviously, it's disappointing from me personally. It's also disappointing from an FIM perspective, but we move on. And as you say, we go to Manchester, which again, I think there's pros and cons, because obviously at Cardiff you had this fantastic town next to it, but maybe you never had the best racing. Where Manchester, I don't think it's far off one of, if not the best, one of the best tracks in the world. So to go there and see the top guys in the world, the Grand Prix riders racing around there, I'm hoping will give a fantastic spectacle. And I'm pleased to see that tickets are pretty much sold out. That's good. We've got a 2-day event, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Hopefully the British weather plays ball. We know with the Speedway Nations, 4 days and 4 days of not good weather last year, but we managed. It proved how good the track was to be able to race in them condition. Hopefully it's not like that, fingers crossed. But I really hope that we can have a fantastic event. It's a big spectacle, and respect to Manchester and Bellevue, Mark Lemon and the owners, Tim and Robin, for taking it on, because I know they had a tough time last year with the Speedway Nation. So great to see the tickets are sold out, and I'm looking forward to it massively. Again, it's not quite Cardiff, but hopefully it will be the new Cardiff, and everyone will want to come to Manchester and have the weekend in Manchester.
From a racing point of view, you touched on the Speedway of Nations there. Manchester has hosted big events before, World Cups, Speedway of Nations events and so on. But a Grand Prix is a different kettle of fish, isn't it? Obviously, it's individual, and the riders come with a different approach and different mindset. And perhaps with the Speedway of Nations, not every heat is going to be a top world class heat in terms of some of the nations that might qualify for it. Whereas here, it's the top 16 riders in the world, and of course, not least wildcard as well, a Manchester boy in Charles Wright for both events too. So, this is going to be, a different proposition from what we've seen in Manchester ever before.
Yeah, a lot of people I spoke to are really looking forward to it for many reasons, just because you get them riders that you don't normally see, whether it's obviously people are going to talk about Smarslick, but there's a lot of others as well. You know, your Anders Thompson, your Dominic Kubera, you know, or Freddie Lingman. I know Freddie Lingman's been here, but the ones that haven't been here, I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. But it's good, Ledvedev, you know, all these guys, Leon Madsen, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to tell you before I said that name then, until Jason Doyle pulls out, he's officially in and he's not pulled out from my eyes. He lets me know, and at the moment, he hasn't pulled out. So that's the official line. I did say Leon Madsen because I was thinking about the last Grand Prix, but there's going to be a lot of quality riders here that I'm sure they'll all work out Manchester quite quick. I'm sure the guys that know the track, obviously, Brady and Dan, they're going to expect to have a little bit of a home advantage. But in the Grand Prix, sometimes that goes out the window because everyone's at such a high level. There's no real... within a few minutes of that track, everyone will know what to do, where to go. Obviously, the lines that Dan and Brady, that they know where the lines are, so it can help them a little bit. But I think it's a level playing field, and it's going to be really good.
Just to dispel a myth, because this is one thing that people will say, that when it's a Grand Prix, the FIM will come wading in and prepare the track totally different to how it usually is.
Not really, no. I work with the track guy, and I know they know their track there, so there'd be no issues from me. I think, we work together, and I don't think there'll be much different from a normal league match. I wouldn't expect it to. Obviously, the only difference is we do have a free practice, qualifying, and a sprint race before the Friday event, which does put some more pressure on the track, and you've only got a few hours to turn it round. So that might affect it a tiny bit. But obviously then on the Saturday, then we go straight into Heat 1 without any on the track. So that gives him quite a bit of time for Andy Meredith, who does a very good job to pull the track back and get it ready for the second day. And again, that's the thing with the second day. You know, you've got that option to put things right, but you could also have a second bad meeting and be scratching your head. And I'm sure we haven't mentioned it, Robert Lambert, who doesn't race in the UK, but, did what he did in Manchester. So I'm sure he's going to be going there after a few bad Grand Prix to show himself again. So, yeah, it's going to be good. And I'm sure it's good for the fans to see all these superstars in action.
To touch on the qualifying situation then, is it one qualifying for the two events, or is it split?
Yeah, so what's going to be happening? We looked at even though Manchester's a strong track that could probably take it, we do realise that there's a lot of work on the track in one day, where we have 2 free practice sessions, qualifying 1, qualifying 2 in a sprint race. Is probably another meeting or more worth of racing on the track. So we decided for the second day that we wouldn't have any qualifying or practice. So the second day, the number selection the draw of the rider numbers will be done manually, just randomly out of a hat by the FIM jury. So the first day will be as normal. The second day, whoever's drawn number 1, 2, 3 will be randomly out of a hat, as we say, out of a draw.
So there is, so that you're not getting the same riding order for 2 days on the trot. So it will be just done out of a hat, yeah.
You could have some riders have the same number. Of course, it can happen. But yeah, the reality is probably most of them are going to have a different number.
Okay, that's a good one. And then, as far as you know, for the rest of the event, when you have a Grand Prix in town, of course, Warner Brothers Discovery tend to bring a bit of a show, don't they? In terms of signing sessions and opportunity to meet riders, is got fan zones and things like that involved.
Yeah, there'll be a fan zone, autograph signings, and everything on the. I'm not going to say on both days. I don't know, but I think they would be, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, they will have their. What they would normally have at a Grand Prix. So they'll have some stalls there. It's probably some monster activation. And so looking forward, I don't get to see that. So I'm not really sure. I'm a bit busy at them points, but I'm led to believe it's normally good fun, and, people enjoy it, and that they get to see close up personal with the riders and get them to sign an autograph or a shirt or a hat. And then they get to see, a bit of monster show and things. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a good event, not just on track, but off track, and the atmosphere will be good, which is the main thing. Good atmosphere and good racing.
Obviously, we hope for a great event. As you say, the track lends itself to some superb races. We've seen some fantastic clashes there in League Speedway, even in obviously Speedway of Nations in the past as well. And of course, it's a different prospect with the extra seating that's been put in as well. What is it too early to say what the long-term future of Speedway Grand Prix is in Britain? Obviously, having lost Cardiff, is it likely to remain a 2-day event in Manchester going forward, or will it probably be one? Do we know yet?
Yeah, I'm not. That's discussions between Manchester and Warner Brothers Discovery. So I wouldn't want to say. I hope it comes back. That's the main thing. How, where, what, when? I'm not sure on that, but I'm sure. I feel confident, especially knowing that the stadium sold out, that it'll be on the calendar next year. So hopefully that's a good start. Like I say, I'm not sure on the ins and outs of it, whether it be one, whether it be two, whether it be an extra event, SGP 2, 3 with it. I don't know. That's something that you maybe have to ask Mark Lemon and Bellevue. They might have some more info on that. But at the moment, yeah, I would feel confident that we'll be back next year, which is great. Just have a good one this year and make it more desirable for next year would be the plan.
And on the subject of the Grand Prix so far, of course, nobody can stop Bartosz Smarslik so far. He's there again, even though obviously the way that the qualifying for the final events has changed slightly. But I think the story is really Brady Kurtz, and hopefully he's fit to take his place, because he's been a bit of a sensation, hasn't he, in the opening few rounds?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was a shame in Prague. Okay, I think Leon Madsen had got past him, so he wouldn't have qualified for the final. But just by breaking his chain and crashing on the last bend, that probably lost him 3, 4, 5 points, I think, off the top of my head. And that made that gap a little bigger. I think it's 8 points now. So, yeah, but I'm sure Brady will be ready to try and claim some of that back. And like I say, a 2-day event, 2 good events there, and suddenly things can be different. But out of respect for Bartosz Smarslik, he has been world champion multiple times. He is leading because the reality is he's the best in the world at the moment. They're all chasing him down. But like I say, it showed that, he's beatable. Riders have done it, and Brady, up until Prague, was leading. So yes, it's good to see that riders can challenge Bartek. But the reality is he's a little bit above everyone, and they are chasing him. But Speedway's a funny sport, He only needs one bad meeting and 2 or 3 of the guys behind him, which I guess are, Brady, Jack, Freddie, these guys. A couple of good meetings and a couple of not so good meetings for Bartek, and suddenly it's all back in the mix again. But I'd never be surprised if Bartek wins 1 or 2 of them. That would never surprise me because of the class and the professionalism of that rider. So for me, I just look forward to it, and may the best man win. I'd be very impartial, as long as it's some good racing and the guy who wins it, I'll always congratulate them. And they'll all be chasing Smarslik, I'm sure.
Plenty to get behind for the British fans, though. Obviously, Brady Kurtz, he's an Australian, but of course he's going to have a good support from the Bellevue fans, of course. And same for Dan Bewley, Robert Lambert, 3 riders there who are going to have the home support, but have also had good performances there. Robert Lambert, as you mentioned, in the British final, winning the British title as well. So it sets it up nicely, doesn't it? Because you've got the likes of Smarslik, he's going to be in the thick of it. But some real competition and some home advantage, perhaps.
Definitely, and even I'm thinking now you've got your Jack Holder at Sheffield fans, you've got Max Frick at Leicester, you've got Jason Doyle Ipswich, Jan Kvek at Kings Lynn. Trying to remember if I forget everyone now apart from the Bellevue guys. So I know a lot of people are patriotic and they stick to obviously Dan and Robert and Charles and the reserves, but also I know in Cardiff I've always noticed that the fans of the clubs also support their rider a little bit as well. So if there's some Leicester fans there, I'm sure they'll be pleased if Max Fricks does well. And similar, if some Ipswich fans are there, they're going to be shouting for Jason Doyle. So, and you've got someone like Jan Kvech, okay, he's your reserve in the Premiership. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him go there making a final. So, there's always the wild card. And like I say, Charles Wright, another one, he's got nothing to lose and everything to gain. He's out against the best riders in the world, and I'm sure he's going to give everything. And after the British final race, who knows what's going to happen? You know, he did his 4 laps going around the inside while everyone else was knocking lumps out of each other, and he got very close to winning it. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and that race actually for the British final was, has served more than deciding the British champion, hasn't it? Because that was a race that I know has been shared around the world, and that is an example that they've seen in Poland, and they've been, shared among Polish journalists and websites and so on. As this is a proper speedway race that stands up against any you sort of dare name, really.
Yeah, and this is what fans can do. Because obviously it was an exceptional race, and the amount of people that liked it, commented on it, forwarded it on, all these things, I think it's like 3 million plus views on all social platforms. Now, we know that there's not 3.3 million fans in the UK, Speedway fans. That's a dead cert. So we know that that's going to people that's not Speedway fans as well. So the more and more the fans get involved and get engaged with things. So even on Monday night, which I don't know if this will be after this, at Leicester, or any TV event at TNT or BSN, if there's a race that gets pushed out that's good, if everybody just likes it, shares it, and comments on it, that then pushes it to bigger audiences. So I know I made a thing last year about asking fans to help out, and I got mocked a little bit. But it's something fans can do that's very simple, and it proves it with that race in the British final. Yes, the race was exceptional. But even with a good race, we could all do that and push it out so people get to see Speedway, whether it's a football fan, a Formula One fan, a rugby fan. All these fans get to see Speedway, and it could spike their interest. So from everyone's perspective, the more you can do, the better. So I thank everyone for that British final, because everyone made the effort, because it was exceptional, and it helped push it out to so many people. And it was a fantastic race. I'm sure we'll all agree on that. I think the guy in Poland that does the statistics, I think he said there was 27 passes in one race. And I think the average in the extra league is probably about 10 passes per meeting. So you put that in reality, the guy that does statistics brings that to the table, and it's just like, wow, what a statistic. I'm not saying Britain, we have lots of passes, so I don't want that quoted so published that I'm dissing them. But I'm saying, that'll probably be the same for a British Speedway League match. We're probably 10, 12 passes a match, very similar. But it was something about that one race that was exceptional. And if we could have a few like that in the Grand Prix, I'll try and order it and see if we can, but it would be great.
And just quickly about track reserves as well. A bit more experience among the track reserves for these two Grand Prix. We've got obviously Chris Harris, number one. And now, obviously, we don't want to wish anybody a situation where they can't take their place in a race. But should he get an opportunity, there's going to be a big cheer for Chris Harris coming out, and Adam Ellis as well as track reserves. So previously, I think in recent years, it's been sort of more rising stars, but now we're going to established hands.
In past, we've had a bit more of the younger generation, and obviously Chris Harris and Adam Ellis were offered it, and they accepted it. And of course, on a 2-day event, it would be very difficult if Leon Madsen is the next in line, for example, for him to get here in 24 hours. So on a 2-day event, it's probably not a bad place to be as first reserve. The way things go in the Grand Prix recently, the reserves seem to be sat around doing nothing. Which is a good thing. It means there's nobody's getting injured. I did at Warsaw. I know we had some problems here, but in general, like in Prague, I know they were sitting around twiddling their thumbs. So it might be the case. But on the other hand, and I can say this because it's very clear, people can get this information. Like 16th place in the Grand Prix, I think, is like $5,000. So even if you have 2 last places, if they manage to get in the Grand Prix themselves, or even the wild card, you're walking away from that weekend with £10,000 minimum. So it's not as if they're doing it for nothing. So I think Bomber and Adam Ellis, they'll be keen to get in there and to show themselves and possibly earn a few pounds as well. Or euros.
Whatever currency they take. And then looking further ahead, of course, the Grand Prix series continues, but it'll all be wrapped up in September. Then at the end of the season, it's the Speedway of Nations, which is in Torun this year, isn't it? So that's going to be a culmination to everything there, and of course, Britain going there as defending champions.
Yeah, Torun's a great venue. Pretty much almost got a covered track, so it's away from the weather. But yes, it's a fantastic setting. I'm sure there's going to be some great racing there. Obviously, the news came out this week that America have dropped out, which is a shame. But also we've got Argentina coming in, which is a brand new nation, and riders that maybe people don't even know, I've not seen before. So yeah, I'm not saying they're going to be there at the top of the tree, but it's going to be nice to see a new flag. And shame about America. But yeah, I think the racing will be fantastic. And there's not just the Speedway Nations then. It hasn't come out yet, but it will be some kind of a qualification for the World Cup as well for the next year. So, you need a good finish in the Speedway Nations to be invited to the World Cup in 26 as well. So there's a double-edged sword there. And I'm sure that Poland will want to carry on their tradition of winning the Speedway World Cup. But I think the last one in Wrocław, when it went into the last heat and you had 3 teams could have possibly won it, or nearly 4 almost, I think the way it was, so that was, that stands out in my memory, that I was thinking 2 races ago, any of the 4 teams could win it. So that was pretty exceptional. I'm sure Torun will be the same, but also I'm sure that Poland will be hell-bent on making sure that they take the winners and the gold medal.
It's been a sort of a situation, I think, with the Grand Prix as well, isn't it? It's struggling to get sort of new blood or new countries onto the programme as well. So it maybe ticks that box in a small way to bring in a new nation.
Yeah, of course. It's, we want to spread the word. And even the under-21 SGP2, I know of the 12 qualifiers, there was 8 nations in it. And there's probably going to be more nations when they announce the wildcards. So that's a good thing that there's quite a lot of nations, I think 10 nations in that, which gives it a good foundation for moving into SGP from SGP2 and SGP3 and SGP4. So that's the idea of this pyramid. America not being there. With regards to someone like Luke Becker, yeah, I wish him the best. Hopefully, I did see, I haven't read much about the what, but obviously he's a big hit for his British, Polish and Swedish teams that they might lose him for a bit. But yeah, wish him all the best. And yeah, that's a shame that, yeah, I'm sure he would have been their mainstay anyway, but not being in there. Yeah, he's obviously their main guy. And yeah, wish him the best.
Looking ahead then to the event, the Speedway Grand Prix, 2 rounds of it. Of course, if you can't be there, then it is available on TNT and Discovery Plus as well on Friday and Saturday nights. And then you got the sprint race that will be on there as well, but that's going to be in the afternoon, isn't it? That's beforehand.
Yeah, in the afternoon on the Friday, yes. And I think that's on Discovery Plus. I think it'll be on there. I'm not sure if it's on TNT. I can't guarantee that, but yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Phil. Always a pleasure. And hope for a nice, straightforward one on Friday and Saturday for you.
If I can just book no rain, that will help me out marvellous. So, Ian, if you've got any influence, if you can just book 2 days with no rain, I'd appreciate that.
Well, I'm working for the BBC this week, and I've got a chat with some weather forecasters booked in at lunchtime. So I'll put in as good a word I can with the Met Office. But
yeah, perfect. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. Good weather for everyone. Everyone can enjoy it, and we can have a great 2-day event.
Phil Morris, race director for the FIM Speedway Grand Prix Series, and also CEO of the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership. And looking forward to a big weekend of Speedway. Coming up in the final part of No Brakes, No Fear, we'll have a look back at what's been going on in the Cab Direct Championship. There was a fixture last week at Glasgow, bringing a bit of a flavour from that, and look ahead to the week's fixtures ahead.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
In this final part then, let's have a look at what's been going on in the Cab Direct Championship. And last week, title holders Poole moved to the top of the Cab Direct Championship table with a statement 47-43 victory at Glasgow on Friday night. The Pirates put in their best performance of the season to take the spoils over their rivals, who slipped up at home just 48 hours after an away win at Oxford. Chris Harris scored 17 points from 6 rides for the Tigers, but he lacked the full support in the host top 5, whilst a solid Pirates Pirates side scored down the order, with Tobias Thompson with 8+1 crucially backing up their heat leaders. Richard Lawson scored 9+1 after being disqualified in Heat 1 for breaking the tapes, whilst Anders Rowe and Louis Kerr both scored 9. Kerr and Paul Stark collecting the match-clinching 4-2 in Heat 14. Time for some reaction then. Soon we'll hear from Gary Havelock and Cammy Brown, but first of all, the Pirates' rider of the night, and that was Tobias Thompson chatting to Greg Blair on BSN.
What a track Glasgow is. My Danish colleague told me this is a really nice race circuit, and I gotta say it's probably one of the best tracks I ever ridden. So yeah, fair play, awesome track.
And with the win with Poole, you contributed to that massively. And was there any sort of, did you feel a little bit nervous coming into this, not knowing what the track's like, and knowing that everybody here has ridden it so many times? There's a lot of riders in the Poole team that have ridden for Glasgow in the past. So was there a little bit of nerves coming into this one?
No, not at all. You always want to do your best and perform for the Pirates. So no, I just keep my head down and keep going. I have faith in myself, and it played out nicely tonight.
So it was the clash of the top two going into that fixture then, with the Pirates looking to overhaul the Glasgow Tigers, and that's exactly what they did to reach the summit of the Cab Direct Championship. The two team managers, Gary Havelock taking care of things in the north for the Pirates once again this season, but first, Cammy Brown of the Glasgow Tigers.
Really bad, but all credit to Poole. They deserved the win tonight. No complaints. Complaint with the referee in the last race because Paul Stark was not anywhere near ready to start, and the clock had run out, and I've told him in no uncertain terms how unhappy, and it could have cost us the match. It probably wouldn't have cost us the match, I've got to be honest. And as I say, Poole are worthy winners. We'll need to regroup and come back. We've started the season really well, but this gives us a little reminder. Think back to 23, we had a couple of reminders as well. This has given us a reminder that where we need to be, and it also reminds us that people who are writing off Poole Pirates don't do it. I said it all along, and it's proved to be true. They outgated us tonight. We need to go and lick our wounds and come back. We will come back strong. Believe me on that.
Javi,
well done.
Just everything that Cammy was saying just there. Not too happy about Paul Stark and the referee, but kind of that's balanced it out with, you say, Chris Harris not getting a warning in Heat 1.
Yeah, in my eyes, I agree with Cammy. Paul Stark was not at the tapes when the thingy, but literally he was a metre from them. And the ref, he obviously just made common sense. But yeah, like you say, in my opinion, that equals it up, because Bomber should have had a warning in Heat 1 for moving first. But hey, they're just trifle things. Overall, I'm absolutely over the moon with the way the boys are going. It's true we have been struggling a little bit this season. We haven't started off as well as we normally do. But like Cammy said, he write us off at your peril, because we've got a team of fighters there, and a team of guys who genuinely want to win things. So, the team spirit was fantastic tonight. It's, definitely going in the right direction.
Well, elsewhere in the Cab Direct Championship, Edinburgh collected their first points of the season with a 50-40 win over Oxford, despite an unbeaten show from former monarch Sam Masters. The Australian raced to an 18-point maximum from 6 rides for the Cheetahs, but the home side had their own high scorer in the prolific Victor Palavara. The Swede signed off from his remarkable spell at reserve with another 20-point haul from 7 rides, with Kai Thompson also scoring well for the hosts on 12+2. He does now move into the main body of the team. A lot of clubs will be relieved to hear. The visitors kept things close, though, for the majority of the meeting, despite tracking much changed lineup, although Jordan Jenkins was withdrawn with a shoulder injury after crashing in Heat 11. Elsewhere, Scunthorpe overcame the loss of their number one Steve Worrell in the opening heat to run up a 50-40 win over the Berwick Bandits at the Eddie Wright Raceway. Worrell was involved in a heavy Heat 1 pile-up with Bandits racer Peter Kilderman, who was unable to continue, but his teammates covered well with injury ride replacement for Steve Worrell, that is, rather than Peter Kilderman. They moved 14 points up after Heat 9 before the visitors reduced the gap in the closing stages, largely thanks to the 5-1 from Kilderman and Craig Cook in Heat 13. And Scorpions reserve Simon Lambert enjoyed his best night of the season, 13 points for him, and Connor Mountain scoring 10, whilst first. Craig Cook with 12 plus 1, Drew Kemp on 11 and Kilderman on 10 dominated the Bandit scoring. Elsewhere, the fixture that was due to take place between Plymouth and Redcar was rained off on Saturday night. So then let's have a look ahead to the fixture picture. Firstly, just specifically looking at the highlights for the Cab Direct Championship, it is a busy week, a clash of the Big Two playoff chasers at Wimborne Road. On Wednesday night, the Poole Pirates facing Redcar in the only Cab Direct Championship fixture this week. Looking at the full set of fixtures then for the week ahead, or that one we just talked about, Poole versus Redcar on Wednesday. Thursday, we've got Road Motor All Premiership action, Ipswich versus Sheffield at the halfway stage of that one. It is the second leg, effectively, of that first round league tie. Sheffield ahead 46-44. Oxford versus Kings Lynn, not quite so close, that one on aggregate. Oxford 31, Kings Lynn 59. And then Friday and Saturday, it's the FIM Grand Prix of Great Britain in Manchester at the National Speedway Stadium. Both rounds getting underway. Tapes up at 7 p.m. both evenings. Sunday, we're in the National Development League, and it's Middlesbrough versus Edinburgh. That starts at 3 o'clock. National Development Trophy, Kent versus Plymouth. And then next Monday, June 16th, Road Motor All Premiership to Perry Barr for Birmingham versus Sheffield. Sheffield ahead 61-29 on aggregate in that one. That one will be live on BSN. And Kings Lynn versus Ipswich takes place on Monday evening, and that of course is in the league, and Kings Lynn are trailing there at the halfway stage 53-37 in favour of Ipswich on that one. And then next Wednesday, back to the Cab Direct Championship, Oxford versus Edinburgh and Poole versus Berwick will be your fixtures. We'll be here to talk more about that this time next week, though. Have a great rest of your week in Speedway. Not too many domestic fixtures, but all eyes are on the National Speedway Stadium. If you're going, or whether you're watching on TV, have a fantastic time. Here's to a good one, well, a good two, in fact, for the Grand Prix, which takes place this weekend. And we're back to unpick everything that's happening in British Speedway. Same time next week. Don't forget to check out our previous episodes of No Brakes, No Fear. There's lots for you to catch up on. The most recent episode last week, we chatted to Cooper Russian, rising star of British Speedway, who featured in SGP3 not so long ago. Also recently spoke to Paco Castagna, the Birmingham CEO Nigel Tolley, on what's going to happen next for the Birmingham Brummies. And we also spoke a few weeks ago with the British Speedway Grand Prix wildcard Charles Wright, who will be involved in both fixtures this weekend as well. If you want to hear from Charles Wright, then check out that episode from around about a month ago in the middle of May. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one of No Brakes, No Fear.
No Brakes, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.